Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Sports Ethos Lineup Lock show. I am your host, Keith Cork, and I'm going to be here riding solo here with you guys up until lock. Getting on about 15 minutes here before the next injury update. I'm going to cover all the recent stuff that's fallen from the 4:30 Central injury updates. So just bear with me here. If you do have a question, pop it in the chat, and I will try to answer. I'm just typing as so sorry about that, guys. Usually have that typed out beforehand, but this is the Tornado Watch edition. I am on Tornado Watch, so if this ends abruptly for some reason, you'll know why. But hey, the most recent news we do have here: the Hornets. Everybody, really no surprise at all. Yeah, no real takeaway either. I think Theo Maledon is a fine player to have in maybe a cash game or something like that. But I don't think the upside's super high. Obviously, I'm playing my Bulls, so maybe I'm a little biased there. 5,500 though for Maledon, not my favorite play in the whole world. McGowan's 4,800. Sure, why not? Nick Richards and Mark Williams are both playing, so not super in that. Svi Mihaliuk is 6,300. So I just don't see a whole lot of intrigue there. I think Maledon's probably the one guy I would maybe consider rostering. So I'm not really into that kind of stuff. Tobias Harris has been ruled out, which leaves some room for Jalen McDaniels as a kind of a dice roll in GPP. I'm not like super convinced that he's going to get a whole lot of minutes. Last time Tobias was out, I don't think he played a whole lot. I don't have that in front of me here, but I believe that's correct. And it was more so the Daniel House show, which he just gets cardio. Out there. He doesn't really do a whole lot. So not in on that one. Here's an interesting one, though. Kristaps Porzingis questionable. I've been wondering when they're going to shut him down here. Looks like this might be the start of that shutdown in Washington in earnest. And so, guys, Danny Avdija, Goodwin would be some names to kind of look at in Washington. Jordan Goodwin, I believe, is his full name there. Neither are attractive enough for me at their salaries on this 13-game slate to really move the needle for me. So I'm not really on those guys just yet. There's some other guys I'm more into. Miles Turner has been ruled out, which is really no surprise at all to me. Big shocker. The Pacers really have nothing to play for at this point in time. So it doesn't surprise me at all. Isaiah Jackson, obviously, Jalen Smith, guys you can look at. I like all the Pacers. If you guys have the DFS pass or listen to the podcast, you'll know that pretty much any Pacer is really good for a good play for me tonight on this slate. So if you need a budget guy or a mid-tier guy, that's where I would look. You've got Buddy Hield's only 6,000. You've got Noir's 5,800. Neesmith is 5,400. Jalen Smith 5,300. You've got Isaiah Jackson at 4,900. So Isaiah Jackson probably has the most upside to me. But I think you can roster realistically any of those guys. Bennett Mathurin, 6,300, so I didn't mean to skip over him. Any of those guys is really able to be slipped into your roster, I think, and it'd be totally fine. So there's my takeaways there. But no Miles Turner is a nice one. Obviously, we were kind of anticipating that. Boston, here's a big one, though. This is probably the biggest one where I actually do have a takeaway. The Boston Celtics front court, no Robert Williams, no Al Horford. Both have been ruled out since we within the last hour. Blake Griffin is 3,000 on DraftKings. I think it's a smash play. I think you have to get him in your rosters. Not the biggest Blake Griffin guy, but at the same time he should get 20 to 25 minutes here. Minimum pricing. It's Blake Griffin. He's not as cooked as he was in his Detroit days, so I think he's a fine play there at 3,000 on FanDuel. He's I believe 3,900. So I'm not super sold on him at that price tag. He's a little bit over minimum pricing. I know it sounds a little weird, but you just kind of have to think about like opportunity costs, like 3,900 on FanDuel. There's some other guys in that price range where I'd rather have them. And quite frankly, I don't have anybody that cheap. I'm more of a middle tier kind of guy on FanDuel today, so I don't really have anybody that cheap anyways. I don't feel like I need to get him in because there's nobody I want to really reach for that's a little bit more expensive than what I have already. But I think a DK is a really, really good play, so I would slip him in there for sure. You can look at Luke Cornett too as a really contrarian pick. I think that's very risky. the Unicornet, he's not gonna. He might get minutes here, but he's not the highest per minute guy. He's only 3,000 as well. So you're talking about two guys that are both 3,000. Blake Griffin's easily the play there for me, so I'm not going to go with the Unicornet. So that's it as far as like the stuff that's dropped within the last hour here. I'm just going to go ahead and refresh my feed here and see what else the good people over at Sports Ethos have, what goodies they have for me on the timeline. Looks like Gary Trent Jr. has been ruled out, and they're playing the Sixers. Look, no Will Barton either. Chris Boucher is probably going to get some extra minutes, maybe Precious Achiuwa. Hard to say exactly which direction they'll go there, but some of their top guys are going to get a few more minutes there. Don't mind those plays. It is a tough matchup, obviously, against the Sixers. So don't think you have to go there on a 13-game slate at all. Damian Sharp is expected to suit up on Friday, so doesn't really move the needle on anybody. Banton also in Toronto has been ruled doubtful. Looks like that's the only new news since I last checked. So we're going to keep on top of that. If you guys aren't following Sports Ethos, if you guys aren't subscribed here, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that like button. Follow the show. You'll get notifications every time we go live. And we're going to try to do this as much as we can here until the end of the season. And hopefully, beginning of next season, we'll be able to do it every single day, if not once a week, something like that. So just make sure you're following and subscribing. All right, let's go ahead and go on to some of the bigger injury news that we've gotten throughout the day here. Denver starters are all questionable. So that's a big one that we're still waiting on at this point. We're going to get another injury report here in about 10 minutes, so we'll see what happens there. But, Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, all questionable. I know Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, also questionable. I think you have to, if they're all ruled out ultimately, I think you have to lock in Aaron Gordon at 5,900. I'm assuming he plays because he's not on the injury report yet. So if he does play, I think he's an absolute lock. I think he's going to, have a decent chance to give you maybe, 15 to 20 points, somewhere in that range, maybe 5 to 8 assists and like 7 to 10 rebounds. So, it's going to be a really big game for him. So I would definitely look at him and move mountains to get him into your lineups, assuming that all those other guys are ruled out. Obviously, it's Phoenix, so it's not the best matchup in the world, but it doesn't matter. Everyone else is going to be ruled out. He's going to have the ball so much in his hands. It doesn't really matter at all. Reggie Jackson at 3,900 is another guy I'm really looking at if all those guys are ruled out. So, keep him on your list as well. And, Bruce Brown, Fargo guy here in the chat, Bruce Brown is also a guy I would look at as well. I'm not super into Bruce Brown. I know he just had a big game, and I had him in my lineup yesterday. That was a 2-game slate, though. I think there's other guys in that price range I'd rather have personally, but I think he's a fine play as well, definitely. And Tobias Harris out, who gets a bigger bump, Harden or Embiid? I don't know if either guy does, honestly. I think, they have so much usage. If they're going to get a bump, I'm more on Embiid in this matchup. I'll say that much. So if you're going to roster one of those two, I'd be more on Embiid. He's more of a safe value than James Harden. I absolutely believe that. So good questions, though. Okay, we do have Kelly Olynyk has been ruled in. So I was on Luka Samanic. That's not going to happen anymore. No more Samanic for me. He's out of my lineups. Olynyk's in, so there's not a whole lot to like in Utah, honestly. Probably staying away from that situation. Also, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was upgraded to questionable, which makes me less enamored, obviously, with Jalen Williams or Josh Giddey. And I had Isaiah Joe everywhere, so I had to swap him out because Isaiah Joe is not going to get the usage. He was up to Shai Gilgeous was upgraded to questionable, and ultimately he was ruled in for this slate. So that kind of catches you guys up on all the recent news here within the last, I would say, 3 hours or so. So hopefully that helps you, let you know where I'm at here in my head with what's going on. I'm just kind of taking a look here to see if we have any news on Jokic yet. That'd be a big one. We're 7 minutes away from the new injury report drop in here. So definitely going to be a big one to keep our eyes on. LeBron James also still technically questionable. So we'll be keeping our eyes out for that one. I believe he'll play in this one. He's been more questionable a lot this season, and he's played through it with that foot injury. So I don't think he's really at risk of missing this game. Kawhi Leonard, which is an interesting one here. He has also been ruled questionable with a personal injury, but he was present at shoot around. I think he's trending towards playing, so I do believe he's going to be in. If he does sit, I ultimately played Russell Westbrook yesterday, and obviously that turned out great for me. So I think you can absolutely lock Russell Westbrook into your lineups if you get no Kawhi Leonard here. If Kawhi Leonard does play, Westbrook is 8,700 on DK. Yeah, I'm just not going there. So let's see some other news that we're waiting on here. We are waiting on, obviously, Kristaps Porzingis. I'd have to say he sits. The Wizards had nothing to play for with ping pong balls at this point. They technically have an outside chance of making a play-in. Just don't see it happening. Oh, here's a big one. Let me address this because Julius Randle, obviously, going to be missing some time with that sprained ankle. That's terrible for New York Knicks fans, terrible for the team. Going to be a rough go for it, going down the stretch into the playoffs. I really do think a lot of people are going to be locking in Obi Toppin. Is Obi Toppin a must-roster player? That's what I want to address right now because I just don't feel like he is. I really don't. Let me give you my thoughts on that. I'm actually going to go more with the RJ Barrett, or if you want to, Josh Hart, getting a little bit more usage. I think they're going to shift to the power forward. They're just going to play some 3-guard sets. Tom Thibodeau did that in Chicago and the Bulls quite a lot. He's a fan of that kind of play, and he just doesn't trust Obi Toppin. There's nothing that he's indicated throughout the last 2-3 seasons that I think it's his third season for Obi Toppin that he trusts Obi Toppin to play any more than 20 minutes. So I just don't think Obi Toppin is as strong of a play as he's going to be owned tonight. He's going to be probably, I would guess, at least 30% owned because he's only 4,000 on DraftKings. I think on DK he's let me see, he is 5,000 on DraftKings, or I'm sorry, on FanDuel. I'm not going with him on FanDuel. Absolutely not. It's just not going to happen. I think you can fit a much more reliable guy at 5,000 on a 13-game slate. But on DraftKings 4,000, it's more of a question mark. I'm just not going there. I think I'm going to fade the field on this one. I'm playing RJ Barrett. I'm super high on him. He's now the number 2 option with no Julius Randle in there. So it's going to be Jalen Brunson and then RJ Barrett. So I really do think that that's going to be a solid spot for him. And as I said, Josh Hart, if you're feeling that as well, that would be a big one as well for me. I think he's going to slot into some power forward minutes as well. Let's see, Anthony Edwards, I think he's probable, so we don't need to worry about that one necessarily. About 4 minutes away from the new injury report dropping here. Karl-Anthony Towns, questionable. So this is an interesting one, actually. So, yeah, obviously Kyle Anderson gets a bump if there's no Karl-Anthony Towns. But remember, there's no Naz Reid either. Naz Reid's out with a long-term injury at this point. So there are front court minutes to go around. So I think this is a really important one for us to kind of keep our finger on here. If Karl-Anthony Towns is ruled out, I'm all over Gobert tonight. Just throw that out there. I think this is a really good matchup for him. The Lakers are going to attack the rim with LeBron and Anthony Davis. I'm on his props over for blocks at plus money. I think it's a good investment there. So I'm hoping he gets 2 blocks or more, which I think is no tall order here, considering LeBron and AD are going to be attacking that rim. And I think it's a really good matchup for him. If there's no Towns, it's even better. So I like that a whole lot. Obviously, if there's no Towns, you can also look at guys like Kyle Anderson, slow-mo. Let me see, where's his pricing here? It is 6,500 on DraftKings, which is that's a good price. I think it's definitely fine. I don't think he has the ceiling that a lot of people think he does. I know he's got a really good fantasy game. He's got a diversified fantasy game. I think he has a very safe floor. Take a look at he's almost a triple-double a couple of games ago. I mean, maybe he has a higher ceiling than I'm giving him credit for, but I'm not considering him a must roster yet. I just don't think it's the Lakers. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. He's better play than I'm probably giving him credit for. So yeah, if you're feeling it, go for it. But for me, I'm not really much of a Kyle Anderson guy. I think he's put up some duds left and right when I've tried to roster him. So maybe that's why I've just kind of been hurt by him in the past. So he'll probably go off tonight. So there you go. Go roster him. The other guy, though, I'd be looking at, and this is more for large field GPPs, though, Luka Garza at, again, minimum pricing 3,000. This is a permanent monster. This is a guy that can absolutely go off. And I think that, if there's no Naz Reid, there's no Karl-Anthony Towns, he should be able to play at least 15 minutes, I believe. So that's really all you need at minimum pricing for him to hit value for you there. So, yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns is a big one that we're going to be looking at here in about 2 minutes. When that news drops here for the last injury update before lock. If you guys have any questions, please go ahead, drop them in the chat. I will try to answer them all, and I should be able to. We don't have too many viewers at this point in time, but if you guys know somebody that would like the show, tell them about it. Again, go ahead and like and subscribe. Make sure that you're staying on top of when we're going live. We do try to bring this to you guys as often as possible. Just try to see if there's anybody else here that we're kind of keeping our eyes on, if they're in or out. I could talk about my top plays for the day, but we're about a minute out from the injury news, so I just want to hold off on that for a moment here. Jamal Murray, obviously. Yeah, all the Denver guys, we want to keep on top of whether or not they're playing. Keldon Johnson is questionable, San Antonio. We can talk about that a little bit here. I'm not in love with any of the San Antonio guys. I think Mamukelashvili is probably the one guy I'd be on my 5,000 on DraftKings. I think on FanDuel he's a little bit more expensive. I'm not really into him there, but 5,000 on DraftKings, I think that's a decent price point. Devontae Graham 5,100 is another guy I've been considering here and there. But if there's no Keldon Johnson, I think that gives those other guys a boost, obviously. And we've got Vassell also questionable on the San Antonio Spurs. So there is value there. I think Mamu, I'm just going to call him Mamu just to save everyone the headache there. But I think he's definitely the guy I'd gravitate most towards on that roster at the price tag. So let's see. We should have just gotten our latest batch of injury news here. I'm going to be refreshing our Sports Ethos blurb page here and seeing if we have any new news to get to here and see if I have to swap any of my lineups here last minute. We're about 30 minutes out from lock. Kristaps Porzingis out. Not surprising at all. Again, Avija, I think Goodwin is another good one there. You can look at other guys like Monty Morris, DeLon Wright, Corey Kispert. Not super into those guys at this point. Taj Gibson may get a minute here or there. I really don't think so. I think the Wizards are finally doing the right thing here, and they're going to try to play their young guys. So I would also look at maybe a Johnny Davis in some large field GPPs, which I know I've mentioned him before, and he absolutely crapped the bed, which is always possible, but that's why you play him, because everyone's going to be off of him because of that reason. So Kenyon Martin, he's going to warm up with the intent to play on Friday. So that's good. KJ will play, it looks like. So I'm going to refresh here and see if there's anything else. Not a whole lot to take away from the KJ Martin news, honestly. Okay, nothing new just yet, but we're going to keep refreshing there and seeing. Let me talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about there. We're going to talk about we talked about the Spurs already. That's right. Talk about my top plays here on the slate here. I think for me, the one game that I really got circled as a competitive game that I know I'm getting value from is the Atlanta Hawks and the Brooklyn Nets. This has implications. Nets are trying to stay out of the play-in. Atlanta Hawks are trying to stay out of the 10th seed. They're trying to be at least 9th, hopefully 8th or 7th for them. There's a lot of implications there. So I'm targeting that game heavily in terms of like the salary I'm spending. I think it's a wise choice because everything else is kind of, there's landmines everywhere, right? It's end of season. We don't know who's going to start, who's going to sit. We don't know who's going to be, given 25 minutes randomly because it's a blowout or whatever. But Trae Young 8,900 just screams value to me. I think he's going to be highly owned. I think that price tag is obviously absolutely great. Yeah, Fargo guy's asking if Gafford's in play, if Porzingis is out. I think he is, definitely. I know he's questionable at this point in time. I'm not sure if he was ruled in, but if he was ruled in, that's absolutely a name you can look at for sure. Let me see here if I got that updated yet on the good old DraftKings. Yeah, he's still questionable, so looks like he's trending towards being a true game time decision at this point in time, unless they just haven't updated it yet. But if anyone has a word on that, absolutely look at that. But yeah, I think Gafford is a guy you can definitely look at with Porzingis out if he is eventually ruled in. I don't know if he is, though, if he's actually suffering through an injury and actually a game time call. I think I'm more leaning towards him being out, honestly. So I'm just not going to go there. It's just too risky for me at this point in time. Let's see. When do those games start? I think it's probably an early game. It's the Wizards. Yeah, it's like the earliest game too. So plenty of value to be had, especially on Denver. I think if you're going to have like a dice roll, Denver and Phoenix is where you're going to have it because you're going to be able to swap them out last minute depending on who's ruled in and ruled out. Oh, looks like Fargo does know that the Gafford is available to play there. So, yeah, get him in your lineups for sure. Let me see. His price tag is 5,000. Decent. Orlando plays big. He'll be out there for a decent amount of time, I would think. If he plays, let's see, the last 3 games, 29 minutes, 31 minutes, 29 minutes, 14.25 fantasy points, 17.25 fantasy points, 26 fantasy points. I'm not the biggest Gafford fan, as you can probably tell. Not because I have any ill will towards him. I liked him on the Bulls and thought he was a decent backup player. I just think he's overhyped in fantasy circles. He has good permanent upside, and he's flashed it here and there. But I think he's not very dependable, and I don't honestly think he's a great player in terms of like real life basketball. I don't know if he's going to stick necessarily as like a starter in the league. Let me just put that out there. But no, I think he's absolutely a fine play on this DFS slate. We're talking about here. That's absolutely fine. But yeah, going back to my what I was speaking of before, Trae Young, Mikal Bridges. I'm loading up on that Atlanta Brooklyn game because I do believe that's the one that's you can absolutely count on the value there. And obviously, we got Nicholas Claxton as well. I'm really big on him as well, but wasn't able to fit him into my lineup. Oh well. Let me refresh here and see if I have any new news for you guys. Let me see here. Alex Caruso and Javonte Green are both in. That's cool. Caruso's fine. If you need a real, cheap guy to slip in your lineup at guard, he's a fine guy to go for. It is the Hornets. Everyone gets kind of a bump against the Hornets. I feel like this is going to be a blowout, though. The Hornets are sitting everybody. They're playing Theo Melodon and who the heck else is even over there? Just JT Thor. I mean, guys that are just not. They're barely in the league. So I just don't see that being a competitive game all the way through. I was on Zach Levine earlier. I still am on FanDuel where he's 8,000. I think even if he only gets 3/4 of play, that's still a very attractive price tag. On DK, he's 8,100. Same price as Vucevic, who I think will also go highly owned. But I just don't know if you can trust that game to be competitive all the way through. So that's kind of an interesting one to keep monitoring there. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have, that's really the only other new news. Again, Kristaps Porzingis out, so that's a big one there. But yeah, not DK, that Atlanta and Brooklyn game. Let's go back to that one. So as I was saying, I was like, why is that? Oh no, because I have Gafford typed in there. I was like, why is nothing populating? DeJounte Murray 7,600 is another guy. Ramiz, I know when the podcast was on. You can look at Cam Johnson 6,800. These guys are just guaranteed they're going to get minutes. It's going to be a competitive game. The spread actually opened as a pick 'em, and now it's slightly favoring the Hawks. Last I looked, it was 1.5 in favor of the Hawks. Shout out to Mike Fiddle who allowed us to get on the pick 'em there on the Hawks side before the shift happened. I'm actually taking a look now and see what it's at. It's at 1.5 for the Hawks. So I do think that spread makes a whole lot of sense there. And so I think this is going to be a game we're going to see, again, full allotment minutes for each single guy in there. Another top guy I'm looking at here on this slate is Kevin Durant for DraftKings at 9,000. He got 29 minutes in his first game back. But now with all the Denver guys sitting, I don't know if I can trust that now. I'm rethinking that because they're all questionable. So actually now I have to go back and fix my lineups here. See, this is why I'm glad I'm talking to you guys about this. So I can actually go fix my own lineups as well. I know Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were ruled in against Utah. So those are a couple of intriguing guys at the top end to look at. But again, it's a minefield out there. You just don't know who's going to play a full allotment of minutes. Joel Embiid at 11-1 is probably a lock to play his full allotment of minutes, probably going to have a pretty decent game. We don't know if Jokic is playing. Damian Lillard's out for the season. Anthony Davis is in and playing Minnesota. It's a tough matchup, obviously, with Rudy Gobert protecting the paint and everything like that, but somebody you might want to look at there. Steph Curry, he gets the San Antonio Spurs tonight. Can you trust that? I don't know. Sabonis against the Portland Trailblazers, who scored, I think, 80 points in their last game, and they're playing Nas Little and Drew Eubanks. I mean, I don't know if that's a great one either. And even the Celtics guys, I mean, I think they're fine. Tatum and Brown, because I think Utah still manages to stay in games somehow, even without their top guys in. So that's probably where I gravitate towards. But even then, you're still asking a lot. You're still not sure. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 10,000. That's good. He hits Indiana, so that's a really decent spend up there. I think that's fine. That's really the first one I've seen that's safe. And he was just ruled in, so there you go with that one. But we've also got obviously Kawhi Leonard probably going to play against the Memphis Grizzlies. That's decent. No Paul George, obviously, still. LeBron James probably going to play against Minnesota. Also a decent play. So there's decent plays at 10,000 and under that all seem to be pretty set in stone that they're going to get some value there for you. But it is a minefield. You guys have to be wary of what the situation is, what the teams are playing for. I'm looking at Donovan Mitchell at 9,100, against the New York Knicks. I like that one a whole lot. We know the Knicks give up big games. I want to put that out there. I'm actually going to go ahead and swap him in right now as I'm speaking about it, because we do know that the Knicks refuse to, they just like to give up big games to people. It just happens all the time. So I'm going to bank on that happening here, and I'm going to go ahead and just pop in some Donovan Mitchell into my lineups as we're speaking. Yeah, I'm going to put this up here. Lakers get the win tonight. We need to get back to 500. We're confident to win these games. Yeah, I like it, man. Thank you for that, Amelia. Appreciate that a lot. I think the Lakers do need a win. They're going to be trying in this one, so I do think that Anthony Davis and LeBron James are one of the safer spend ups on this slate for sure. I think it's a an important one for them. Let me go ahead and refresh here and see if I have any other late breaking news. We're about 20 minutes to lock at this point, guys and girls. So Jared Allen has been ruled out. So, no surprise there. He was doubtful. Dean Wade is going to play. So that's interesting. Evan Mobley obviously gets some nice bump there. Obviously, Karis LeVert get a few more minutes as well. Maybe Jetty Osman gets in and plays. Not super sold on any of those guys. I think Mobley's he's safe. Let me put that out there. I think he's a safe guy for sure, which is saying a lot on this slate, as you guys can tell. Trying to see not sure how I'm going to get Donovan Mitchell to my lineups here. Oh no, I thought Mikal Bridges could qualify as a small forward, but he does not. That's so sad. But yeah, I do think that there's some safe value there on the Lakers there. If you need to spend up that, it's just safe. I'm not like super duper into Anthony Davis. I think LeBron James would be the way I would go. And we all know that he's dealing with that foot issue. So if the score gets out of hand one way or the other, I do think he does sit just to kind of rest up that foot. So that is a little bit of a risk there, but I think it's generally safe. Absolutely. Any other questions that you guys may have, go ahead and shoot them to us. Sportsethos.com. Go sign up for the DFS pass. We are cheap. It's $4.99 a month, $4.99 a month, not $499, $4.99 a month for the DFS pass. We do this in Discord even before we hop on here for the live shows. So go ahead and go get that. Sign up. You'll get to talk to us. If you have questions, you can pepper us all day with questions. We get to them as we can in our Discord community, which is starting to be a little bit more active. Still kind of building this thing up from where it was a few years ago. But yeah, we would love to have you guys there. Sportsethos.com. Go sign up for it and come rock it out with us, man. I'm just going to go ahead and head to Twitter now and see if I can see any recent news there. Let me see here. Jet on out. Yeah, nothing too exciting as far as I can tell. Let's see, guys. We're still waiting on here. Hold on here 1 second. Chris Duarte is out. Yeah, it's not too impressive. Pacers are starting Nembhard, Mathurin, Nesmith, Nora, and Jalen Smith. So Jalen Smith starting and not Isaiah Jackson. Take that for what you will. I think both guys are fine. You can roster either of them. Let's see. Anything else? I don't see anything else on Twitter that's super exciting at this point in time. So we are still waiting on let's see, KJ Martin's going to play. I think we already knew that, so not a big deal. Sixers, let's see. Okay, so Embiid and Harden and Maxey and Melton and Tucker. So Tucker starting, Melton starting. So not even Daniel House isn't starting. Yeah, I think Jalen McDaniels is a risky play. I really do. I think he's worth a dice roll in large field GPPs. He is a guy that can produce across the board. Looks like Kawhi Leonard is going to play. So there you go. Kawhi's in. Love that. Think he needs to play there. And, obviously no Russell Westbrook now for you guys. So sorry about that. But yeah. But nothing else too exciting here. So let's see. What are we still waiting on here? We are still waiting on all of Denver, but that's going to come later, unfortunately. I think at this point in time, just kind of talk about general strategy. If you guys have any Denver players you're targeting or Phoenix players you're targeting, go ahead and slip them into, your utility spot, your forward spot, your guard spot, so you can swap them out quickly later, as we get later. Maybe a few guys get rolled in, maybe a few guys get ruled out. Maybe everyone gets ruled in, and then you might be screwed at that point. But you do want to have that opportunity to do a late swap. Ever since late swap came out, you want to make sure you're taking advantage of that. So make sure you're doing that. We are still waiting on LeBron James technically, but like I said, pretty sure he plays. Anthony Edwards probable. So yeah, I think we're really not waiting on anything too earth-shattering at this point. Karl-Anthony Towns is one that we're still waiting on, it looks like. Really want to see if he plays or doesn't play. But we're about 17 minutes to lock here. And that's basically where I'll cut. Oh, I do have something new here. Oh, Kawhi Leonard cleared to play. Yep. So Kawhi's going to play against the Grizzlies. I think that's a pretty decent spot for him. He would be a decent guy to lock in your lineups, I think. So take that for what it's worth. Some of the I already spoke about it before, but if you're just joining the live stream here, some of the guys I spoke about before, they're kind of like value plays under 4,000 that I'm looking at here. Blake Griffin 3,000 is just an absolute smash for me. Gotta have to play him. He's probably going to get 20, 25 minutes tonight. Let me see. Let me pull up his game log here and see what happened last time he got that many minutes. Let's see. Last time he hit over 20 minutes was on the 15th of February, 29 minutes. He put 20.25 DK points, which is fine. That's minimum pricing. That's fine. The 14th, the day before that, he played that back-to-back, which was insane to me. But the day before that, on the 14th of February, he put 36.5 DK points in 24 minutes of action. So he does have some upside there. 23 minutes on the 13th, he put up 16.75, 20 minutes on the 10th of December. This is in December now, 23.75, 22 minutes on the 7th of December, 25.25 DK points. So, yeah, I think, you're looking for 20 to 25 DK points here from Blake Griffin at minimum pricing. I think that's just a smash play. Absolutely. I think you got to give me lineups here. The other guy I'm looking at under 4,000 heavily is Reggie Jackson at 3,900. Again, if this is pending on the situation in Denver, I'm getting the sense, though, usually people aren't added to the injury report until, later in the day, unless they're really, truly not going to sit or they're really, truly going to be tanking that game. So I do feel like the Denver guys that have been listed questionable are going to be sitting. And I don't think I ever actually went through exactly which guys are going to be sitting. So let me do that. I have to go all the way to the end, of course. So the guys in Denver that we're still kind of waiting on here: Nikola Jokic, questionable; Jamal Murray, questionable; Michael Porter Jr., questionable. Actually, Jamal Murray is unlikely to play with the injury management. Jokic is truly questionable, it looks like, and Porter Jr. is questionable with a left heel injury maintenance issue. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope also questionable with an illness. So, maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe they're not trying to take this game. It feels like, though, after they got smacked and looked terrible the night before, they might just take this game off against Phoenix with Kevin Durant. I'm getting that feeling. That's just a gut feeling, though. Sometimes they're not always right. I know I was wrong about it the other day about a game. I can't remember which one. So take that for what it's worth. But that is something to be wary of. Again, I think Reggie Jackson at 3,900 is a good play, though. If they do sit up, they sit Jamal Murray, sit Michael Porter Jr., sit Nikola Jokic. I think Reggie Jackson, though, for me is the one guy because we already know Jamal Murray's out. He's unlikely to play. So I'm basically just going to rule him out at this point. And then Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, if he's also out, they're going to be exceedingly thin at that point guard position. You could also even look at Ish Smith. It looks like a 3,000 in large field GPPs as a pivot there. That's pretty attractive, I would say, but I'm not expecting much. He's always been a guy that's kind of produced pretty solid value whenever he's gotten the minutes. So take that for what it's worth, obviously. But let's see. See if we have any more new news here. We're about 13 minutes here from lock. And let's see. Keldon Johnson is available on Friday, so that's interesting. Doug McDermott is probable as well. So Spurs are getting some guys back against the Warriors. That probably helps the Warriors more than anything. So I'd be starting to look at some Warriors guys now. So let's go take a look. Because if the Spurs are actually going to try to keep this a little competitive here, the Warriors should be able to have a bit safer value. So, yeah, Steph Curry at 10.5, starting to look a little bit more attractive. Klay Thompson, 6,800. I think that's attractive as well. Absolutely. I was on Jordan Poole before at 6,200. I do still think there's a blowout potential here. So, obviously, Poole would be a guy that would get a few extra minutes if they decide to sit Curry early. So I think that is a guy you can absolutely keep in your back of your mind there if you need a guy in a GPP. I don't think it's absolutely sold. But yeah, Klay Thompson, I think, is probably the guy that sticks out to me the most at 6,800. He's a little bit safer now if they're going to play Keldon Johnson. Obviously, with Keldon Johnson in, that limits the upside of everybody else on the team because he's going to take like 100 shots. You might want to get Keldon in, 7,500 against Golden State Warriors. It's a fine price. It's a fair price. It's not great. I wouldn't say it's not good even. I would prefer him to be like 7,200, 7,100. But, 7,500 is not bad. You can look there. But I think, for me, it's got to be Klay Thompson here at 6,800. I'm trying to see what he's done against the Spurs in the past. 22.4 minutes in one meeting and 26.3 fantasy points. So he went 7 of 10 from the field, of course. 2 of 3 from three-pointers. But that might have been, let's see, when was that? That's the question. Because it might have been injury-related that he only played 22 minutes. But it could have been blowout-related also. But he's an interesting guy to keep your eye on there for sure. All right. See if we have any other new news for you guys. Yeah, limits Mamu Kashveli also. I just can't say his name right. I'm so sorry. Mamu. It limits Mamu's upside as well. To have Keldon Johnson in there. I'm curious to see. I think Devin Vassal's still questionable. Yeah, Josh Lloyd. This is funny. Why would the Spurs take Keldon off the injury report and then put him back on as questionable, only for him to play today? Good question, Josh Lloyd. I don't know. That's not in this chat. This is on Twitter. You should go follow Josh Lloyd. He's a great follow. Obviously, if you're in fantasy basketball, you know who Josh Lloyd is. But yeah, he's a funny guy. It is a legit question there. I just don't know the answer to that. Good question. Just trying to see if there's anything on Twitter here that we are still haven't covered just yet. Looks like we're still just waiting on stuff. Let's take a look just at the general slate here and what games we can see as being competitive and what games we can see as like being like, okay, I'm gonna skip over that one. So I think Chicago, Charlotte. I think from the Chicago side, Chicago needs this win. So I think you can still play guys like Zach LaVine or Nikola Vucevic. I think they're going to be playing a majority of their minutes, if not all. Game can get out of hand, absolutely, but we know that the Bulls are choke artists and will probably only win by 10 points or something like that. But yeah, I think you can absolutely look at the Bulls here. Orlando, Washington, there's really nothing at stake there. I think there's value to be had there with no Porzingis there. In Orlando, they're still playing their guys, so those guys get a bump obviously because Washington's playing some G League guys here and there. So I think you can look at guys in that game. I wouldn't skip over entirely, but not super intriguing in terms of real life, implications. Oklahoma City and Indiana, that's a little bit intriguing. OKC has incentive to win here. Obviously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a good play here. Indiana does keep things close for the most part. They don't usually blow people out, or they don't usually get blown out, I should say. So you can look at OKC for sure. Now we're looking at Toronto and Philly. That's going to be a good one, a good competitive game. Joel Embiid, not the best matchup. Actually, it's a pretty good matchup. I'll say that much. As long as he can get Jakob Poeltl into foul trouble, then he should be able to feast absolutely just fine. So I do like that one for sure. We are about 8 minutes to lock here. And once we do hit lock, I will obviously, as I've been doing, take a look at some of the ownership of some of the guys I've been mentioning here. LeBron James has been cleared to play against the Wolves, so no surprise there. That was what we were pretty much anticipating. Doesn't really move the needle on anything. I think he's a safe play. I think the Anthony Davis also a safe play there. So, and let's see here. Anything else on the old Twitter feed that we've got here? Alex Caruso's in. We already knew that. Nothing super exciting. So yeah, going back here just to kind of what games are competitive and what games are not. Let's see, where do we leave off here? Toronto, Philly, that's gonna be competitive. Utah and Boston, I think that will still be competitive, honestly. I do think the Boston guys are fair game. New York and Cleveland, I do think that's going to be a really good game. That's one that I'll be watching personally. So you can definitely stack up on guys like I was saying, Donovan Mitchell's a good play there. I think you can look at Jalen Brunson at 8,000 is a really good play. There's some really good guys in that game. But RJ Barrett's the guy that I'm taking away there. Again, if you're just tuning in, weren't watching before, a lot of people are going to be at Obi Toppin because that's the guy that's going to replace Julius Randle. He may even start. I really don't think he's going to top 20 minutes. I think he's just a guy that Tom Thibodeau does not like. Just a guy that he refuses to play a full starter's allotment of minutes. So I think it's going to be RJ Barrett and Josh Hart slipping to the power forward position a little bit more. I really don't think that there's going to be a big leeway there for Obi Toppin. I think it's kind of fool's gold a little bit because he does have really nice per minute numbers. He's a nice fantasy player. But yeah, I regard that just smells like fool's gold to me, for lack of a better term. So let me see. Anything else dropping here? We're about 5 minutes here to tip, guys, so bear with me. I don't know if I've talked about FanDuel a lot here. You know who I haven't talked about, or what game I haven't talked about yet, is Detroit and Houston, which that really intrigues me. I mean, obviously it's a tank off. Neither team really wants to win, but Jaden Ivey, especially on FanDuel, where he's 6,900. I think on DK he's 7,100. I want to say, and Jalen Green's 6,900 on DK. I remember that much, but those are some really intriguing names for me because you know they both have the ability to just absolutely go off. And Jaden Ivey's been incredible recently. He's been getting the assists in large numbers, and the Houston Rockets have terrible pick and roll defense with Şengün, obviously. And so I think him and Jaden Ivey and James Wiseman, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, James Wiseman. Will have the ability to take advantage of that bad pick and roll defense. So those are some guys I'm looking at there as well. Jaden Ivey and Jalen Green. I think people are going to overlook them. And there's some decent plays there. Nasir Little on FanDuel is only 4,700. Just seems too low to me. I would definitely consider him there for sure. Anyone else that I'm looking at here on FanDuel? Just kind of taking a look here. As I mentioned before, Zach LaVine's only 8,000 on FanDuel, which is a nice price as well. Let's see. Let's try and see if there's any new news for you guys here. We're about 4 minutes from tip. Do like and subscribe again. Make sure that you're get your notifications on so when we go live, you can come join us here. Joe Wieskamp is available to play. Delano Banton is out. Who cares? Those guys really don't matter that much. But that is some breaking news right now. You get all the top breaking news here, man. I'm telling you right now. Just scrolling the old Twitter feed to see if there's anything else that we're missing here. Buddy Hield's going to play. The Pacers are posting about that right now. So that's cool. Happy for Buddy. He's a good buddy. Nothing too crazy, guys. But yeah, I think, again, if I were to give you just kind of my top plays here, we're about 4 minutes away from lock. Again, my top plays, DraftKings. I'm going to go Trae Young is kind of a spend up here. I do DFS tiers on Twitter, by the way. If you don't follow me on Twitter, my handle's right there on the screen. BSBP Keith. I might have to change it at some point, but that's what it is right now. I do DFS tiers every day, probably around, I would say 4 or so Central, maybe a few hours before tip. My spend up today was Trae Young. Again, this game means a whole lot to Atlanta and Brooklyn, so I'm looking for these stars to show out here. Mikal Bridges, happy to run it back with Mikal Bridges as well. Mid-tier, I'm definitely looking heavily at Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon is 5,900 on DK, and I do think that at least Jamal Murray is going to sit out. We already know that, so he's going to be more of a point forward in this one. He's going to get a few more assists. Probably going to score a few more points as well. They're going to need him to score because Michael Porter Jr. also questionable. And we also have, obviously, Jokic questionable as well. So if those guys both sit, we got a whole lot of value there in Aaron Gordon. So, and it's the latest game. So if for some reason those guys get rolled in and you're not feeling Aaron Gordon, you got $5,900 to play with as opposed to some of the other guys that are cheaper, obviously. So I like Aaron Gordon a whole lot as my mid-tier play. And then as a value play, I had posted on Twitter that it was Reggie Jackson, but I'm going with Blake Griffin at 3,000. He is absolutely bottom pricing there. And so I think you have to take advantage of that for sure. All right, 2 minutes to lock here. I'm starting to lose my voice, so I'm kind of glad about this. But yeah, we are just going to take a look here, just see if there's any absolutely late breaking news here. About 2 minutes to lock. Just refreshing the old Twitter feed to see if there's anything else that we have not discussed. Interesting name is interesting observation here from Thunder Dan, who's been on the pod also, the podcast. Cavs Knicks tonight is a likely round 1 matchup for the playoffs. So this is kind of a preview for that. So that's another little bit of intrigue there for that game. Again, I'm big on Donovan Mitchell in that game. Yeah, SGA went from out to being in. Someone's upset about that, which I totally get. Kawhi is in. We've already talked about that. Not a whole lot of other news, guys. But again, make sure you're liking, subscribing, keeping us in your thoughts and prayers. No, keep us in your notifications, and so that when we go live, you guys can definitely get notified of that, and we can go ahead and keep you informed of all the late breaking news. So I hope this is helpful to you guys. I hope I helped you kind of sort through this kind of mess, this kind of rush that we get. Maybe about 45 minutes to lock here. Again, we're going to try to do this as much as we possibly can throughout the season, and then when next season starts, we're hopefully going to be able to doing this beginning of the season and into the postseason. So 10 seconds to lock here. We are almost there. I do want to take a look at some of the ownership for you guys and just kind of see where we're at with some of the guys I spoke of. Let's see, what are the early games here? The early games are the 6 p.m. games, which are Chicago, Charlotte, Orlando, Washington, OKC, Indiana, Toronto, Philadelphia. So we should get some ownership on guys like for Chicago, guys like Levine. I don't think I have Vooch in my lineup, so I'm not going to be able to look at that for you guys. I could probably poke around, but not going to look at that. Just maybe for a few minutes, I'll take a look at the guys I do have in my lineups here and give you some idea what the ownership looks like and give you my thoughts on that real quick, just for a few minutes. All right, let's see here. And thanks for staying with me, guys. If you are still here, appreciate you. Bear with me one more moment here. There we go. I had to refresh the page. All right, let's take a look here and see what we got for ownership for some of these guys. Isaiah Jackson, only 5.5% owned. Yesterday was only 12% owned in my GVPs, and I was kind of surprised about that one. I'm surprised at this number as well. OKC has no centers. I think it's a good spot for me. It's a good get for me. I think if no one's going to have him, there's a lot of potential there. So hopefully he goes off. Benedict Mathurin, 12.2%. It's about what I expect. It's really not that surprising at all. He's a pretty good play. I like pretty much everyone on the Pacers, if you do recall. And let me go take a look at FanDuel, a couple guys here. A couple guys here at FanDuel that I'm able to look at so far. DeLon Wright, who I swapped into on FanDuel as we were speaking here, he's 33.8% owned. A little bit surprising. It's a little high. I'm kind of upset that I'm on him now. Would have rather gone with Goodwin then, as I was speaking to you guys about. I did mention DeLon Wright kind of in passing. He just kind of fit my salary, so I just kind of stuck him in there. Didn't have a whole lot to think about, obviously, because I was talking to you guys about some other stuff that was going on. Zach LaVine, 14.8%. That's okay. It's a little high, too. Isaiah Jackson's 8.7% on FanDuel, so that's interesting. This is interesting. Patrick Williams only 0.4% owned on FanDuel. He's a little pricey, 4,800, but I do feel like if this game gets out of hand, you get a few extra Patrick Williams minutes. So anyways, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. Go like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Go to sportsethos.com and sign up for those passes. But we will try to be with you guys again. I think tomorrow's a 2-game slate, but Monday would be a 13-game slate. So we'll try to be with you guys then, and hopefully have a few other guys so I can keep my voice. All right, thanks for tuning in. Bye.